Elizabeth, how you doing? Jerry, what's up? We'll wait for a minute or two here while we get some more people in. Lisa, how you doing? Carolyn, hello. David, how are you? Lisa, hello. How are you, Carolyn? Glad you can make tonight. Hopefully, we'll have a good crowd. Got quite a few new members today. I think we picked up another 25 or 30. It's going very well. People are starting to get it. Cousin Bill, how's it going? Give it a few more seconds here and we'll get started. What do we got here? All right, let's go ahead. The show on the road. Maybe. David, did you just lose your connection? Rebecca, hello. Okay, guys, Swampwatch. Cindy Lou, how you doing? Swampwatch 12, 17, 19. Chad, what's up? Since I've got Chad here, Laura, how are you? Dorothy, hello. I've mentioned the last few weeks. Maxine, how are you? That we are way behind. So we've got our Facebook page, we've got our website, and we've got our YouTube channel. And we are way behind on uploading the live chats to the YouTube channel and the website. Chad's offered to help. what we really need right now is somebody that's kind of familiar with this process of basically you have to upload the videos from Facebook to YouTube and the website. Anybody that has experience doing that, because my problem is I could probably learn how to do it. I just don't have the time. I am having a hard enough time just keeping up with everything that's going on. So if anybody has a little bit of time, a few hours a week, they could help out. That's done this kind of thing before. Please message me. And then once we get somebody in that kind of knows what they're doing, Chad can get trained and kind of spread the workload around a little bit. So again, please message me if you've got those skills. Appreciate it. Okay. The FISA court is not happy with the FBI. They sent a letter, which they don't hardly ever do. I can't remember them ever doing it. Mainly because they don't want, my degree's in criminal justice. I decided, I got my AS degree at Santa Rosa Junior College, then went to Sacramento State for administration of justice to finish up, and got my BA there and was working on my master's. And through that process, and especially when I was working on my master's, I was going to school with a lot of captains and lieutenants, guys that were working their way up, right? These are the cream of the crop, supposedly. When I got to listen to the stories these guys would tell, I wouldn't do it. I mean, it's amazing how corrupt the whole system is from top to bottom. Unfortunately, our criminal justice system has very little to do with justice. It's and has been for years. I remember when I was in high school watching a cop beat up one of my friends, and then lie through his teeth. Guy should have been fired. And, it's a couple of kids' word against the cop's word. And they know it. And just the stories about, backup pieces and throwaway guns that these guys carry, so that if they shoot somebody and it's questionable, they drop the gun and all of a sudden it's self-defense. These aren't isolated incidents, guys. Unfortunately, it's way too widespread. There's, and listen, it is a tough job. There's no question. You're dealing with the worst of the worst every day at work. You either have to have the mindset for this, or you don't. You've got to have in your mind, to me, you can't have it both ways. You either want to go by the rule of law and our Constitution, or you don't. There's no fence sitting here. It's either legal or it's not. Sometimes bad guys are going to get off. But the problem is when you go the other way, the biggest horror for me is somebody who's innocent going to prison. And unfortunately, that happens way too often. There are tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people who have spent, a lot of them executed, a lot of them spent their lives in jail because somebody lied, because somebody wanted a conviction, because the conviction in the criminal justice system is more important than justice, because these guys want to use it as stepping stones. You know, the detectives and the cops for the bust, and of course the DAs for their record. I'm not impressed by a guy who has 100% record, 100% conviction record. I'm impressed by the guy who has a 100% conviction record, and every single one of those is clean. And unfortunately, in a lot of cases, and it may not be the DA, maybe it was somebody below him, it's irrelevant. The O.J. Simpson case proved what our criminal justice system was about. There's no way that the average citizen can put up a defense against our government. And I'm talking about, just a regular. I'm not talking about the federal government. I'm talking about city or county. They have unlimited funds. And you're dealing with usually the dregs, the newbies, either the guys who are no good or brand new. That's who's defending you. What O.J. Simpson proved, in my mind, guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, was that it's about the money, because he had the budget to compete with the government. And look what happened there. So our criminal justice system needs to be completely revamped. And I think this is a good step in the courts calling the FBI out, because this would have never happened. Under a different president, you can bet your ass they'd have covered it up or sugarcoated it or made excuses like you see them make. So I was actually encouraged that they did this, because this crap has to stop. Kind of along the same lines, I was, on like I am every day. Somebody posted, there's this new movie out on Netflix that portrays Jesus as gay. And people are going batshit crazy. Oh God, if this was Muslims, they would never allow it, blah, 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 blah. It's irrelevant, guys. That whoever's calling the shots wouldn't allow that if it was a Muslim or Muhammad. But they do because it's Jesus and Christianity. We gotta take a step back and look at the big picture here. You can't have it both ways. You can't say, I want freedom of speech, I want the rule of law, and then be upset because somebody else is getting something you're not, even though it's probably not right. It's not the point. Everything, there's no question that the scale has been tilted. It's not an even playing field. Because of the Obama administration and the Muslim infiltration of the Obama administration, it was evident, even though with the mainstream media that we had, that was covering for them most of the time, that they were blatantly disregarding the Constitution when it came to the Muslim religion. Just take, for example, you could Google right now, there are hundreds of examples of where the school system, basically, and this is coming from, a liberal stronghold. And this is another thing, guys. That's one of the biggest problems in the country. Mainstream media and our educational system. Propaganda nonstop, 24/7 from the mainstream media. And then you've got the educational system basically brainwashing our kids to, a liberal agenda, socialist agenda that is not in line with our government, our founders, what our founders intended, obviously, and then allowing things like you can't pray. You can't, you can't say a Christian prayer in school, but they've got you taking Muslim field trips and making kids wear Muslim garb. Unacceptable. And President Trump is on top of all of this, guys. First Amendment violations, the censorship by social media, what's going on in our schools, Second Amendment infringements, all of this stuff is going to be dealt with in a timely manner. Before the end of President Trump's second term, all of this crap is going to be cleaned up. But there's a process to this stuff. It's not going to happen with the snap of a finger. It's not going to happen out of order. So there's certain things we don't need to deal with right now, right? They're not important. The most important thing right now is the draining of the swamp. When the swamp drains, everything changes. Because most of the people, and George Soros is a great example, is his money is driving this agenda throughout the world, not just here. I mean, Christ, he's in Ukraine. He's in the EU. He's all over the world, throwing his money around. Most of it's stolen. Some of it's been laundered to him through our government. It's all ending, guys. But we have to be patient. And we have to understand there's a priority list here. And we have children, 800,000 children a year go missing in the United States. That's a hell of a lot more important than the bullshit with them infringing on our First Amendment rights. Now, it's unacceptable, but that's going to be taken care of. More importantly, is draining this swamp. So, and there's been a lot of work done on the human trafficking and the child sex trafficking, but it's still way too prevalent. It doesn't end until the swamp drains. So, to me, everything else goes on a back burner because this is the most important issue that we're dealing with. I believe God's wrath was changed when we elected President Trump. God's not happy about 800,000 kids missing a year and nobody mentioning a peep. When was the last time you heard about it on the mainstream? You haven't. Because a lot of these people are involved. This is when people find out the whole story. Most people I tell this to about the 800,000 kids can't believe it. I mean, wow. It blows them away. Because you'd think that's a pretty big deal. We're talking about, what are there, 40,000 gun deaths a year. And a lot of these are self-defense. I mean, these are just gun deaths. There's 40,000. 40,000 versus 800,000. A lot of those 40,000 are self-defense or accidental shootings or whatever. 800,000 kids, and they're screaming bloody murder, right? For the 40,000. But 800,000 go missing, and there's not a peep from the mainstream media or politicians. Well, there's a reason for it. Child trafficking, human trafficking, is the number one source of black revenue for the CIA. The CIA has breeding farms in America where they're actually breeding kids. They sell the homely ones for organ harvesting, body parts. And the cute ones they sell in as child sex trafficking. I've talked about this a lot because it's probably the most important issue that's going to come out with the swamp. We've got the swamp draining. We've got the worldwide economic collapse, the first ever worldwide economic collapse. It's going to go hand in hand. They're going to be within a couple of weeks of each other, I think. And then we've got the satanic pedophilia being exposed. And it's not just that these people are pedophiles. It's they're satanic pedophiles, and there's a huge difference. Not that there's any room for pedophilia in this world. But satanic pedophiles, these people are torturing and murdering children, torturing them to death to raise the adrenochrome levels in their bloodstream. And then they drain their blood after they've murdered them and drink it because it gives them a high and they think it makes them live longer. This is all coming out as part of the swamp draining. Most of you probably have heard about the rumor about the Hillary Clinton snuff video. 100% true. The New York PD detectives who found that video on Weiner's laptop, some of them are still going through counseling several years after they found it. Epstein was running honeypots for Mossad and the CIA. His Florida mansion, his New York mansion, Pedo Island, and his ranch in New Mexico were all wired. Prince Andrew, the Pope, former presidents, newscasters, celebrities, thousands of hours of the most disgusting video ever recorded. It's all coming out. When the world finds out, the mainstream media is done. The Democratic Party is done. And the world is going to unite behind President Trump, because then it's going to be apparent to the world why everyone has been attacking him for 3+ years. It's not because they don't like him. It's not because they don't like his style or he's not presidential. It's because they know he's coming for them. And they have to take him out first, or virtually all of them are going to be executed. Anybody guilty of treason is going to be executed. Anybody guilty of murder is going to be executed. It's not a coincidence that Barr just 2 months ago reinstated the federal death penalty. There's a reason for it. Because they could still execute you for treason by the old policy, but not for murder. They're not letting anybody off the hook here. That's why it's taking so long. One of the reasons why it's taking so long. This has been going on for years. Not just the pedophilia, but everything. The corruption, the manipulation, the deep state has been in power since 1947, basically the start of the CIA. The things that they're responsible for are sickening. we've got the gall to be upset about other countries interfering in our election, which is really a non-issue when you look at the impact in our country, at least. And Obama sent people to Israel to try and oust Netanyahu, spending U.S. tax dollars. They opened an office. They didn't even hide it. And we've got the gall to complain about interference that really never happened, because the other thing is this supposed Russian hack of the DNC never happened. The DNC was not hacked. It's a fact. It was a leak. Seth Rich downloaded onto a thumb drive the files on site at the DNC office and then gave them to WikiLeaks. I'm not a computer expert, but Bill Binney is. Bill Binney was very high up in the NSA, probably the preeminent expert on government spying and hacking in the world. He was a whistleblower. He reviewed the data, the leaks, the metadata. And here's a fact. If you hack into a computer from off-site, even if it's just across the street, the download times take 3 to 4 times plus longer in a hack as they do with an on-site download. It was physically impossible for that to have been any kind of a hack. Russia, Ukraine, whoever, China, doesn't make any difference. It wasn't a hack. It's a fact. And they're still telling this lie years later. And it's out there, guys. Bill Binney has been on the record for a couple of years now. Nobody wants to listen. All of this is going to come out. We're starting to see it now. We're starting to see. We have just scratched the surface. And look what happened to Schiff on Saturday in Glendale, in his district, his home district. They shouted him down. In California, the tide has turned, guys. Think about that same crowd if they found out that Schiff is involved in pedophilia. The deal is, if you wanted to get into the club, that's how you got into the club. They had to get you on video doing this crap. That way they own you. You could never turn on them because you'd be turning on yourself. Because as soon as you turn, they send the video to the New York Post, the New York Times, CNN, and crucify you. All of it is going to be exposed. And think about that. There's the good part of that is what's going to happen with the election. President Trump's going to win 90% of the vote. The Democratic Party's done. They might not even field a candidate for 2020 because most of them that are in the race right now are going to be in Gitmo by the time the election hits. The bad thing is the cognitive dissonance. That's why it's so important right now to warn as many of your friends and family as you can to get them prepared for this. Because here's the potential issue. It's very possible that this is going to be like a simultaneous thing, because The minute that President Trump goes to drop the hammer on these guys, they will collapse the economy within days, if not hours. So, very possibly, we're going to have martial law, possibly stores closed, banks closed. Oh, and by the way, the Pope, the royal family, several former presidents, newscasters, celebrities have all been torturing and murdering children. Thousands of them. How do you think that's going to play? People are going to, well, what happens with cognitive dissonance is you have a strongly held belief that's contradicted by the facts, and you can't process it. It's like a computer freezing up, buffering. It just won't compute. Just think about these people, a lot of these liberals who've been Democrats their whole lives, maybe for generations, voted for Hillary, voted for Obama, and then you see video of these monsters. How are you going to feel about yourself? It's hard enough hearing this stuff when you're on the right side of it. Think about all your friends and relatives who voted for these disgusting excuses for human beings. And then finding this out, it's going to be devastating. The worst possible thing you could go through if the banks are closed, the power's off, communications are down, is cognitive dissonance. You run out of food, and there's civil unrest, and your kids are hungry. What are you going to do? You're going to be forced to go out when your head isn't on straight and try and take care of your family. Everybody's got to be prepared for this, guys. This is going to be one of the biggest events in human history. Draining this swamp. Draining this evil. It virtually changes the world overnight. When we remove this evil. These people have been responsible for every war in the last 200 years. You can basically trace this stuff back to the deep state globalist agenda. Look up UN Agenda 21, UN Agenda 2030. It's all connected. And it's all ending. But it's also going to be a difficult time for people to navigate this because it's so horrific. And it's going to be so hard, especially for the people that have been supporting these monsters. You know, it's bad enough what they've been doing, but that you were supporting them as they were doing it. Just think about carrying that around. It's not going to be easy. And knowledge is, you know, I always say knowledge is power. There's no more important time in history for people to know what's coming and what's happened. Because you don't want to be in the middle of cognitive dissonance when this all goes down. And it literally could go down any day, guys. I think based on what's been you know, the Q drops and what's been happening on the legal scene, I would not be surprised to see big arrests in the next couple of weeks. You know, Brennan, Clapper, Comey, probably. The other thing is, don't be surprised if they pull a trigger on the whole thing. One of the reasons President Trump is so successful is, you know, he's got a game plan that works for him. And one of the things is you don't ever tip off your enemy. They aren't expecting, I don't think, a mass in 2 or 3 days. They round everybody up. I think they're thinking, like most of us are, that they would start at, and not at a slow level, to arrest, the former director of the CIA. But it's not Obama, it's not Clinton. There's a chance that they could round them all up at once. They could just make a sweep, get them all before they have a time to react or get out or get away. Listen, they're not going to go anywhere, really. The problem for them is the world is too small today. There's nowhere in the world that the Clintons or Obama's going to go to hide. They'd be ferreted out in a matter of days or weeks. Not that they won't try, but they're not going to get away. They've already got them under surveillance. Electronic surveillance. I mean, they're on top of this. And they know it's coming too. I mean, the deep state, the globalists, the criminals, the monsters, the pedophiles, they know it's coming. I mean, that's why you've seen all of these, these false flags, these shootings. That's all they had left, and now you're seeing them with this impeachment farce. They're talking about basically just dismissing the charges, opening statements from both sides and just dismissing it. They got nothing. They might even be bordering on just for what they're doing with this impeachment. There's a possibility for that they could be charged with treason, because there's not one shred of evidence that the president's done anything wrong. This is 100% a defensive move by these people, because it's the only thing they have left. It's ridiculous. And not that we need to have them generate treason charges here, because trust me, there's plenty of ammunition for the prosecutors. It's a target-rich environment for evidence. I think every one of the top dogs in the Bush administration, including 43 himself, Cheney, Rumsfeld, Condoleezza Rice, are all going to go down for treason. Pretty much everybody in the Obama administration, in the upper levels, 25, 30, are going to be probably executed for treason. Treason and or murder. And it's exactly what has to happen, guys. There's CEOs. It's going to be cleaning house from top to bottom. This economy has to collapse. The Federal Reserve has to go. All these big banks have to be cleaned out. All of these CEOs, some of them might be executed because they're involved in this too. And some of the CEOs for the mainstream media might go down for treason also. When you conspire to remove a duly elected president of the United States, that's treason. And they're not messing around. That's why it's taking this long, because they're not cutting any deals. And these guys obviously want deals. They don't want to be executed. That's one of the reasons it's drug on so long. Now, and also, obviously, these people, when President Trump first took office, they were pretty powerful. They had their tentacles throughout the government. Virtually everything you could think of. They had assets in virtually every department. Plus nuclear weapons. They had bases in North Korea. They had bases in Iran. Over the last 3 years, this thing has been going on behind the scenes for a couple of years now. The SEALs have been taken these guys out. The earthquakes they had in California over the 4th of July, the 4th and the 5th, those weren't earthquakes. They took out the base underneath the base at China Lake in California. And that's happened all around the world. If you don't already know, you will soon. There are, oh God, I don't know, maybe 100 underground bases in the United States. There's basically freeways underground, coast to coast. All this is coming out. Trillions of dollars. Trillions. And probably could be 100 trillion have been stolen from us. CIA, deep state, been going on for years. Basically, they've done whatever they wanted. Through the Obama administration, it got even worse because they all thought Hillary was going to be next. They could do whatever they wanted because Obama wasn't going to let them investigate anything. And Hillary sure wasn't going to let them investigate anything. The beauty of that was they got sloppy. They got arrogant. They made a lot of mistakes. They left a lot of evidence because they thought no one was ever going to look. And now it's like wide open. These guys are, I mean, the list of charges, almost all of them are going to have several treason charges. I mean, Jesus, you got, what do we got here? 5 term investigation. You got the Huber investigation. You got Benghazi. You got Giuliani in Ukraine. He's brought home. This whole thing is blowing up on them. There's nowhere to run. There's nowhere to hide. Their only chance is to get President Trump out of office. And we're seeing the last remnant of their last play is coming to an end. And so the next thing is arrest and prosecutions and executions. It's all good, guys. It's all good except for the sooner it happens, the better. And it's all about the kids. I mean, if it wasn't for the kids, it's not as big a deal waiting. But that there's still kids out there in harm's way, it has to end sooner rather than later. Jesus. And this whole, you got to understand the terminology too. You know, if you, and the mainstream media really camped on this. You know, they when you read the report from Horowitz, you know, it's the terminology. You know, it's like they were mistakes. These are mistakes. And trust me, when it comes to Durham, because now remember, Horowitz can't prosecute. He had a very narrow scope. He could only look at currently employed DOJ and FBI officials. That's all they could look at. Anybody that was involved who'd left, he couldn't talk to him. Anybody in the State Department or the Obama administration couldn't talk to him. Durham can talk to everybody. Durham can get indictments through the grand jury, and the grand juries are impaneled right now. They're going through the process right now. So we're close. I believe days or weeks we're going to start to see the arrest. And when we do, the economy's going to go too. And just think about this. This economy, forget about what you hear on CNN or from the talking heads. This is probably the weakest economy we've ever had. When you look at the debt, I mean, virtually every indicator is horrible. When unemployment, right? The way they figure it today, it's like 3.9% or 3.5%. When you figure it, take the exact same numbers and you figure it the way they did in like 96, it's like 22%. And if you like 1980, it's almost 30%. They keep changing the formulas to make it look better. To me, the unemployment rate is how many people want to work and how many people are actually working. And then you figure out what the unemployment rate is. It's easy. But no, if you are out of your unemployment and you can't find a job, you're taken off. They don't count you anymore. And can't find a job, you're not counted. Come on. Stats.com, and then you find out what the real numbers really are. And you can't blame President Trump because he's just playing the hand they dealt him. And he had to use the same things they were using to keep this thing going because he needed a couple of years to clean out all the infiltrators, the deep state. He couldn't go on the attack until he had the military built up and most of these people weeded out. Now we're ready. Gitmo's ready. Huber's ready. Durham's ready. Barr's ready. And the American people are ready for this to happen. So I just don't see how it can go past the middle of January. I think with everything going on in the economy, with everything going on in the legal system, we're not far away, guys. So there's not much time. This whole thing, what this whole page is about, it's not just about waking people up. Because waking them up and then throwing them to the slaughter doesn't do them a lot of good. There's got to be a plan. And it comes with, like right now, getting ready, getting a group together, having a plan. What good does it do you if you've got maybe 8 or 10 people that are going to kind of work together down, but you don't have any plans in place? Rally points, what you're going to do if certain things happen. Because worst case scenario, the banks close, the stores close, goes out, then there's rioting and looting. That's worst case scenario. You live in a city and you got no food and no water and the power's off, so your faucet isn't working. That's not good. You got to have extra food, extra water, medical supplies, ammo, physical silver, Litecoin, some cash, Faraday bags, filtration devices. You can kind of do the minimum for a couple of $100, buy 50-pound bags of rice, 50-pound bags of beans. You take your empty milk containers and soda containers and fill them with tap water. Well, you still can. Buy 5-gallon buckets, those plastic buckets. Fill those up with water. Don't wait. Everybody should have at least 6 weeks of food. 6 months if you can afford it. You've got to get when this goes down, when the economy collapses, paper assets will eventually go to zero. That means your bank account going to zero. You're going to lose whatever you have in the bank, just like they have around the world. Stocks, bonds, your pension fund, retirement accounts are all going to zero. You're going to lose 80% of the value of your home. You need insurance, and that's where physical silver and Litecoin come in. I'm making it easy. You want silver. You don't want Bitcoin. There's a reason for all of this. Litecoin, I believe, is going to have the highest return on investment of any asset in history. silver is going to outperform gold at least 8 times. I'm going to post in the comments the websites for Silver Dealer and for Coinbase. You can buy Litecoin and physical silver online, and you can do it tonight. Anybody who has any questions, feel free to message me. Listen, I'm not selling anything. I don't take donations. The only thing I ask from anybody that benefits from these messages is that you pay it forward. You pay it forward now by reaching out to your friends, your relatives, your neighbors, and trying to wake them up. You pay it forward through this rough patch we're going to go through by helping other people with food and water. And when we go through the recovery, you help out your assets. If you can 5 or 10 Litecoin, in 5 years you're going to be a millionaire. Today, Litecoin is less than $40. Some analysts believe it's going to be 3 million by 2024, and I think that number is conservative. Cryptocurrencies are the future of money. When people find out how the banks have stolen us blind for the last 100 years since the inception of the Federal Reserve, people will never want to put their money in banks again. This is the end of the banking industry. Cryptocurrencies make banks obsolete. That's why you got to get your Litecoin. Even if it's a couple of life-changing. 5 years, everything's different. Litecoin is fast. It's secure. I believe it's going to be the premium coin for settling debt when we get through this thing. The United States will have a gold-backed currency. China, so will Russia. We're not going to go through this thing again with fiat currencies. But crypto is the future. It's like buying Apple stock in 1970. The guys who did that are billionaires today. There's only 84 world, about 65 million. So that leaves 20 million that has a population of 7.5 billion. When this happens, everybody's going to be looking for a safe haven. And what you're going to have, metals or cryptocurrencies, silver, physical silver, or Litecoin. If you wait until this blows up, within days could be for silver, where it's $40 for Litecoin today and 18 ballpark for silver. This is going to be the greatest transfer of wealth in human history. The Bible says, everything that's been stolen from you will be returned sevenfold. Paraphrasing. That's what's going to happen, guys. God is giving us a gift with these prices. Because this close to the collapse, that these prices are where they are, God is trying to a chance to change his life. Buy physical silver. Buy Litecoin. Don't wait. Don't procrastinate. This is insurance from everything you're going to lose. Think about this. Like me, I'm 64. I just filed, I had to go on, they put me on disability because of my stroke. But I'm only expecting to get a payment or two probably from them before it's gone, before it's dried up. Think about people that have, paid 40 years in their retirement. I've got many friends my age in the same boat. They'll have nothing if they don't buy physical silver or Litecoin, because the pension funds are going to be zero. Your bank account, they changed the law 2 years ago. When they go bankrupt, when a bank goes bankrupt, Your deposit's now considered a loan to the bank, so you go to the bottom of the list of creditors, which means you're going to be lucky to get pennies on the dollar. You got to get insurance, guys, and the insurance, and it's got to be outside the system. It's physical silver, and it's Litecoin. Again, anybody has any questions, feel free to message me, and I can kind of walk you through what you need to do. And also, guys, we have 400 hours of live chats on the Watchman page. Go back through some of those old live chats because we talk about this stuff almost every day. Okay, I got to get to some questions here. We're going to be here all night. Yeah, Paul is talking about Field McConnell's channel. There's an attorney. Fields is I think he's still in jail. He got arrested on trumped up charges. He's been fighting pedophilia for over 10 or 15 years now, I think. But he's putting out some good information. Sandy, how you doing? Kathleen, messages. Have you been messaging me? Are you sending? What? Okay, so going back to this movie, guys. Listen, that's a First Amendment deal. Netflix, if they want to show Jesus as gay, they're 100% within their rights to do that. Now, we can boycott it. We don't have to watch it. But I'm going to defend their right to show it because you can't have it both ways. Oh, yeah. Mel Gibson. Well, Mel Gibson has been talking about the pedophilia for years. This is the first I've ever heard about Robert Downey Jr., although he may have spoken out and I just didn't hear about it. But yeah, they're out spreading the word. Kathleen saying 75% of the FBI agents that saw Wiener's laptop are dead. I don't think that's true. Because there's a ton of people that have seen those videos or that video. There may be some. I think in the New York PD, one of the detectives may have died, and I'm not 100% sure exactly. It seems like it was kind of suspicious circumstances, but tack that on to the Clinton body count. Well, what they're going to try and claim now is that this is all CGI, right? That it's not real, that it's fake video. Not going to work, but that's what they're going to claim. And the other thing they're going to claim, and why you're seeing so many Democrats running for president, because they're going to use that as a defense. When President Trump comes for him, they're going to say, well, he's just attacking his political enemies. There's nothing to it. He's lying. He's fabricated all this. It's not going to fly, but that's what they're going to do. Yeah, Bo's off about a lot. He's pretty good on the cryptocurrency. He has no clue on geopolitics and what's going on in the world. You know, he thinks President Trump is basically a deep stater. There's several guys. There's several guys, um, especially on economy. They don't have a clue what's really going on. If you're not factoring in when you're looking at the economy, the worldwide economy, if you're not factoring in the draining of the swamp and the exposure of the satanic pedophilia, you don't have a clue what's going on because it changes everything. The economy cannot survive. If the deep state didn't want to collapse the economy, it would collapse on its own when Obama and Clinton were arrested. It can't survive, guys. It's a mathematical certainty the economy's coming down. There's no way around it. I mean, they've been propping it up forever, and they're out of money. They got no more bullets left. They're out of ammo. Danielle, how you doing? Late again. Yeah, and guys, listen, this is what you expect to happen. Right before the collapse, the people with the money always drive the prices down. They'll drive it down on silver, they'll drive it down on the cryptocurrencies, so they can buy it up right before it goes through the roof. Don't be worried about the prices. Um, Buy what you can as quick as you can. My birthday is August 27th. My brother Dale, my younger brother Dale, turned 59 on the 15th. So it was his birthday. Yeah, I mean, listen, there are guys that have, there's been a lot of people that have died knowing too much about the Clintons. Um, okay, looks like all the questions, guys. Just let me check my notes really quick, make sure I didn't miss anything. Remember, when you're talking to people, this is really difficult material. So you've got to be as positive as you can and bring them along slowly. Start with the videos on 9/11, the video on Building 7. Architects and engineers for 9/11 truth. I'll post that also in the comments. Um, the reason that's so great is, and most people don't realize, I think they're in front of a grand jury right now, but New York reopened the investigation into 9/11 based on the evidence presented by this organization, Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth. They were all controlled demolitions. It was an inside job. Deep State, Israeli Mossad, and Saudi Arabia were involved. And it's all video on Building 7 if you don't know about it. Any questions, message me. I think that's it, guys. Be positive. Really push the unity. When this all comes out, we're going to get through this like we all always do. Whenever we are faced with a difficult situation throughout our history, we've pulled together and we've gotten through it. It's going to be no different now. So stay positive. Do as much as you can to wake up the people you love and get prepared as quickly as you can. I'm going to end it there for tonight, guys. Remember, fear not. God and President Trump are 1,000% in control. We'll see you tomorrow night at 5. God bless.